Hey YouTube, what's up? Thank you so much for those who watched my previous 2 videos. It means a lot and I hope it gives you a little bit of insight of what TFA is. And now I'm going to delve into my first year experience. I'm dividing this into 4 different parts. For today, I'm going to talk about anything related to curriculum, and if you're curious of what the other 3 videos are going to be about, I have it in the description below. So let's get started. I taught last year Native 2, so Native for Spanish speakers, or Spanish speakers that are native, I should say. Level 2, and I also taught non-native level 2. So 4 classes for native speakers, 1 class for non-natives. And each class ranged from 13 to 33 students. It's pretty average at my placement school. And just to start off, before I delve into the specifics of each content level, I had zero, like no curriculum at all, and I did have a lot of resources from my coach, but I had to start curriculum for both classes from scratch. And so obviously that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, research, etc. For both classes. So let's start off with Native 2. So it was easy and difficult in their own ways. So it was easy in the sense that you can really make Spanish relatable, relevant to their identity, to their reality, and so in that sense it was easy. And I had this whole mantra last year, and I didn't do it so much this year, but basically learn how to preserve your culture through language. And obviously we live in a world where, injustices exist and prejudice exists. And people can take things away from you, right? They can take your rights away. They can take your parents away, right? They can take your children away. They can deport you. They can rob you and even take your home or your car, whatever it may be. But the one thing that people cannot take away from you is your language or your culture. So language would be like an element of your culture. And so I really try to instill that language is not just something, it's just not another subject matter. It's also something that's a part of you and something that you need to appreciate and use it to empower yourself for the future. And so that was my whole mantra last year, and so it was easy in the sense that it was relatable to them. Difficult. Okay, I had all this knowledge, right, and all this things that I had to teach children. And I found myself, I had all the information, no matter how much time I spent on lesson planning, on unit planning, whatever it may be, I struggled delivering that information. And I struggled in structuring the information in a way that's teachable to them. Sometimes I would just spit out information but not really structure in a way that students can understand it. And so delivery was a huge problem for me. It's less of a problem this year, but my first year I struggled a lot. So in terms of the non-native, I am so excited to tell you guys about my non-native because there's some bullshit in it as well. So let's get started with that one. So for my non-native class, my school placed non-native speakers that don't speak Spanish in their home, and then they placed native speakers, people who speak Spanish in their homes, and they put both type of students in the non-native class. So think of it like this, if you still don't understand why this idea is so complex. They put algebra, it's like putting algebra 1 and geometry together. And I was expected to teach them algebra 1. How are you expected to teach algebra 1 to students that are at algebra 2 level? It's the same idea, right? And apparently there are many other teachers that struggle with this too, where they have mixed levels of language, and it only happens in Spanish, right? So it's a little bit weird. And it was a shit show, to say the least, because I struggled in finding that medium where where the native speakers were not bored with the content, and at the same time where non-natives could reach the material. And so a lot of it was not only delivery, but it caused a lot of behavioral management and the type of students that were in it. I think that if they were in different levels, behavior issues wouldn't exist. And yeah, it was just a complete shit show. And that is it for both classes. And just an interesting fact, there are so many other teachers in Alliance schools. Alliance is the charter network that I work for, that have this problem, not just with one class, but with like multiple classes. And it just shows how networks or schools don't prioritize foreign language. That they can, because there's not enough space in the native classes, or not enough space for the non-native classes, that, oh, we'll just put them in both levels. It's okay. No, it's not okay. Not only is it unfair for teachers, but it's unfair for students, because they're being bored with the material, or some are just like, this is way too difficult. And maybe you're asking yourself, why didn't you just advocate for yourself and try to make students move? As a first-year teacher, my first semester, I just consumed information and expectations, and I just followed through. I never found myself, like, I just consumed and I didn't really criticize. Like, I complained, but I never had the courage to express that. And when I did, it was already too late. It was like second semester, and I was just like, you know what, I'm almost done with this class, and I'm just gonna deal with it, basically. So that's non-native, native. So let's talk about resources. Like I had told you, I did have resources. I had no curriculum, but I did have resources. My coach sent me a whole bunch. It was a little bit disorganized, and so I had to sort out the things that I needed to do. And so in that sense, I did have a lot of resources, and I used a book as well for both classes. 15 years old, that was the book that was offered to me, and I used both of them pretty often, but the only challenge that I had there is that I had to create additional resources to increase the rigor, because those texts are just, it's not rigorous at all. Alright, and then coaching in general, for my specific placement school, so there's 3 things that existed every single week apart from teaching: professional development, data, and planning meetings. And so we would have 100 minutes of planning. So this means that you bring in a certain plan, your department reviews it and gives you feedback. Same with data, bring student work, evaluate, feedback. And then professional development was about 2 hours once a week, and where they provide workshops and learning strategies, etc., in order to help us with our teaching practices. And my first semester, I highly appreciated all of the support, because not a lot of schools have this, and I felt very supported with resources, with specific strategies, because I had no idea what was expected of me. I had no idea what to do in certain situations, and I really appreciate that. But my second semester, I felt like it was tedious, because I knew the ropes already, and I found myself very bored at those meetings, at every single meetings, and I dreaded them sometimes. But I did remember my first semester, I was hesitant to ask questions, because I felt like everyone knew exactly what to do, or they acted like they knew what to do. And it was just hard, because it was an environment where I felt like I was the only one that had no fucking clue what we're doing. And so obviously you don't want to be like that that dumb person that raised their hand or that dumb person that expresses. I could have been, right, but I just didn't have like the courage to, or even feel comfortable expressing those things. So yeah, that is pretty much it for lesson planning, curriculum, and resources. If you have any questions, comments about Alliance, I'm going to be creating a video about Alliance pretty soon. It's a charter network here in Los Angeles, pretty huge. Anything about lesson planning, curriculum. I also will be providing my resources for free pretty soon. Just keep on watching, and I just hope that with all this information, it helps you get an idea of what it's like to be a Spanish teacher at Alliance. And I'm not even gonna like censor the name of the charter network because there's a lot of good things and also a lot of bad things about the network. So that is all for you today. Please comment, subscribe, like this video if you found this helpful in any way. See ya.